Wabano Jesus mina oskates. Antawin tagwan chi wabanta hinto. Minuenmento mina ektenmento ayeskam. Hawen wakuta mawat. Kahkenuh Aweyuk mina nikate. Utibench given wanka iawach. Antawin ma chiwabantang ektenmench. Ewichga bawistagwach apunan. Mina ishagwistamagut. Mihiwed no kumkaniping Tikinagan and Child and Family Services kikagwichimik chiwichi watoa mina kitapuin tasya kikagtintang apinochis ktenemue kisiga kikamama umpikhyamik kanichana sinan mina chibihtuya kichiminueta mo nikan weti kitapuin nanang kiabich kakentan hima tikinagan.org.
Wache, bonjour. You are now listening to Kahkenuh Aweyuk, Everyone Together on TikTok Radio, hosted by Tikinagan Child and Family Services. We appreciate you tuning into our weekly program every Tuesday and Thursday at 2 p.m. Central, 3 p.m. Eastern on Wabano Radio. Tikinagan is a community-based child and well-being agency rooted in and accountable to the First Nation communities we serve. We are here because we want to protect our children, help our families, and nurture our communities. To learn more about Tikinagan, visit tikinagan.org.
Hello, Buju Wachie. How's everyone doing today? I'm your host, Tommy Tikinagan, and you're listening to Kahkenuh Aweyuk. June is Pride Month, and in spirit of Mama Obiki Awasawin, everyone working together to raise our children, Tikinagan strives to be a diverse and inclusive organization that supports equality and is committed to fostering a supportive environment for all. We do not discriminate based on race, color, ancestry, place of origin, religious beliefs, physical or mental disability, age, marital status, source of income, gender identity, or gender expression. We are all in this together, equally to be effective and professional for the communities we serve. On today's episode, I'll be talking with 2 SLGBTQ+ youth, Charlie Wabano, as he shares his journey along with foster parent Rhonda Konrad. So let's get them introductions, shall we?
Hi, my name is Charlie and I'm from Fort Hope, Ontario. I am two-spirited and my pronouns are he, they.
Hi, I'm Rhonda Konrad. I live in Sioux Lookout, Ontario, and my pronouns are she, her. And I have been a foster parent for Tikinagan for over 20 years.
All right, thanks for joining me today. I'm excited to chat with y'all. Charlie, can you tell us how you met Rhonda and a little bit about your time there?
So I met Rhonda through a friend of hers, actually. One of my foster parents, they were friends, so they introduced us. And eventually I just ended up living with her, which it was a good experience. Living with Rhonda, she had me take every opportunity that I could. And she was always supportive of my choices and decisions, even if she didn't like them.
Very nice. What kind of opportunities came your way?
We're driving in the car, and I will never forget this day. We're listening to Shania Twain, and he'd say to me, we would go on these long road trips to Dryden or whatever, and he'd be saying, "That's the violin in there." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's the violin." And he would always say, different music he'd pick up, "That's the violin." And like, yeah. And so then there was this program that came across called Strings Across the Sky that was for Inuit and Indigenous youth who wanted to learn to fiddle. And so we got him involved in that, and then it just took off. Like I said, he got opportunities to play with the Thunder Bay Symphony Orchestra. We went down to Parry Sound in the summers for a fiddle camp, and then he got to play with the Toronto Symphony in Parry Sound. We got some amazing experiences, and to this day, I still miss him playing at home. He used to spend hours on the back deck playing.
Charlie, would you say that your violin skills and your identity are related in any way?
My violin and my two-spirit identity, I don't think they're related, but I think it just shows that we're more than just being two-spirited. We are capable of doing anything. Because not only do I play the fiddle, but I can draw. I can sew, I can make dresses. Like, I like designing my own things too. So like we're very multi-talented. You know, we just have to be given the opportunity to express that and discover what those talents are. And Rhonda here was the one that engaged me in these things where I could explore like gymnastics, ballet, karate,
Yeah.
violin lessons, sports. Like I did everything. And I think that's very important for other youth, just to try things.
Now, you just mentioned two-spirit. What does that mean?
Two-spirit to me is not like a sexual preference. It's a spiritual identity to me.
Okay. What kind of things might a person in the 2SLGBTQ plus community go through when coming out? Can you speak of your experience?
I struggled a lot with my identity because I felt like I didn't fit in with your normal, stereotypical gay guy because of how feminine I was. And it wasn't until like I grew my hair is when I started to like get a feel for which direction I wanted to go in with my identity. And actually, I never had a really bad experience in high school either. I was never bullied in school for being gay. All my friends embraced me as I am. They never really said anything. They're like, "You're just Charlie to us. You know, that's just who Charlie is." So it was awesome.
I still remember you were probably 6 years old. We were at Blueberry Hill, so it's a sliding hill here in town, and he was just a little guy, and we were going up the hill, and him and I were talking, and he was like, asked me, what if I like boys? Or what if someone likes boys? And I was like, well, that's okay. You can like, I like boys. We can all like boys, and we can like girls. It's all good. And, you know, it's the little things as they're trying to explore and figure themselves out.
Rhonda and Debbie all used to like drop hints all the time. He's like, well, if one of our kids turn out gay, we'll accept them. We'll love them either way. And then I'm like sitting there like, I think they're talking about me. But I wouldn't say anything, of course, because I was fairly young at the time. But they really did understand and know that I was going to be on the spectrum. So I really appreciate all their efforts.
Well, he even came out before high school. Like, I knew since he was probably 3 or 4 years old, I started to suspect that he may be on the LGBTQ2S plus spectrum. And then when he was about 13, 14, he said, Rhonda, I have something to tell you. And I know he was, of course, you were just a little nervous, but I was like, inside I was like, oh, you know what, Charlie, I love you. And I just so you know, I kind of guessed.
I already knew.
Yeah, you already knew.
And then they like threw this little like party for me, you and Debbie and them. Like we had a little cake and stuff. It was cute.
Oh, well, that's cool. What advice would you give your younger self and others?
What would I tell myself? Don't wait. I really regret waiting and taking this long to like find my kind of like aesthetic and how I want to present myself and how I want people to view me. And yeah, just go at it. Just be yourself. From the very moment you know and the very moment you establish who you are, just go forward with it. Don't look back.
It's being you, totally you. And whatever that is on your socials, you present and you are who you are. And you're not afraid to totally be you. And I think that when youth keep that from people and keep that from themselves, and that's what causes them not to feel good about themselves, when they keep secrets and they feel shame. And there is no shame in anyone being who they are.
Right. What kind of supports would you like to see that could help the 2SLGBTQ plus youth in their journey?
I think having examples of people within the LGBTQ plus community is really important. Like somebody they can identify with is really important. This Rhonda has had numerous LGBT, people within her home. Like we had a trans woman here. We've had people who were bisexual, and then me, of course. Like I had people here within my support system, so it was very easy for me to find the support. And I know it's not like that for everybody, but if there is somebody that you can identify with, then, talk to them, use your support systems.
To follow up then, what kind of support would you like to see for 2SLGBTQ plus youth from Tikinagan?
I think having maybe like group things, and as far as like having foster parents, maybe like a workshop or something to like help them prepare for having a child within that spectrum.
Most definitely a good idea. Now, this question is for Rhonda. What should foster parents know when living with a 2SLGBTQ plus youth?
Well, what I think is important for people to know is, first of all, if you have a child, whether you give birth to a child, whether you foster a child, you adopt, you care for a child privately, however a child comes into your life, you're never going to know if that child will end up growing up to be on that LGBTQ spectrum. So I think every caregiver has to be prepared and open that may be part of your parenting experience. But it's not me. So Charlie's identity is not reflective on me. It doesn't change me whether I'm gay or straight or anything. And I think that, another thing that I think is important too is I have a strong faith and I think that there are a lot of people with different faiths who also fully support and are allies to the LGBTQ community. And we also can't assume because a person has a certain belief system that they won't support either. But I do know for a fact that that if caregivers do not support children and youth who are on this spectrum, children and youth run the risk of self-harm, mental health issues, and risk of suicide. And it's not worth it to lose a single child to this. And, and I think if anyone ever rejected someone or who is on that spectrum, they miss all the blessings, because Charlie has been one of my greatest blessings in my life. And if I had been that way, we would have missed that and our journey together. And he taught me, I've taught him, and we've grown together.
Wow, well said. I couldn't agree more. I have family and friends who are on the spectrum, and you know what? At the end of the day, we're all just people. Now I have one last question, and you sort of touched upon it with your previous answer. How can others be more understanding, accepting, and supportive of people in the 2SLGBT community?
If you get to know someone, and when you really know someone, and how can you, when you really know someone, not want to listen? I mean, I think you have to listen and be there for that person, that child, that youth, and then just learn from them. I mean, that's all I can say, because especially when you fall in love with a youth or a child, you know what? They're your youth. If you're their parent or you're their aunt or uncle or kokum, shomis, whatever you are, that's your connection, your family. And so I think that just listening, I think that's what youth need, right? And you know what? You've been able to do that with youth, right? You've had young youth when you were working in the school up there, and they knew that they could ask you questions, that you were somebody who had been through it all. And it's so important. And when he was young, it was less visible in our communities then. And now it is so much more talked about. We, even Pride Month, it is more visible. And I try to make sure that we are all, those of us who are not on the spectrum, are allies. It's so important that we are in this together.
Alrighty, that concludes my sit down with Charlie and Rhonda. What a great interview that was. Thanks for listening. You can watch the video interview on the Tikinagan YouTube channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe. You can also find us on Facebook and Instagram. This is Tommy Tikinagan signing off. Stay safe and take care.
Thank you for listening to Kahkenuh Aweyuk, Everyone Together on TikTok Radio, hosted by Tikinagan Child and Family Services. Miigwech.